I was 62 when I realized I didn't know my wife at all. We'd been married 41 years. 4 decades of shared breakfasts, joint tax returns, grandchildren's birthday parties. You'd think after that long, there'd be no surprises left. You'd think you'd know every secret, every corner of another person's life. You'd be wrong. The unraveling started small. It always does, doesn't it? Little threads you don't notice until suddenly you're holding a pile of yarn where a sweater used to be. I retired in March, and for the first time in 40 years, I was home during the day. Barbara still worked part-time at the hospital, 3 days a week. Said she wasn't ready to give it up yet, liked staying busy. I understood that. I'd been a civil engineer, built bridges and highways across 3 states. Hard to just stop after a lifetime of work. But being home, really home, you notice things. Like the way Barbara's phone would light up with texts she'd read and delete immediately. The way she'd stepped out to the porch to take certain calls. The way she'd mentioned needing to run errands on her days off, but came back 4 hours later with nothing but a single bag of groceries. I told myself I was being paranoid. Retirement brain, maybe. Too much time to think, not enough to occupy my hands. Barbara loved me. We had a good marriage. Our daughter Emma was settled in Denver with our 2 grandkids. Our son Michael was doing well in Seattle. We'd made it work all these years. People don't throw away 4 decades for nothing. But the signs kept adding up. There was the credit card statement I found in her car, hidden under the seat. A card I didn't recognize, in her name, with charges to restaurants I'd never been to. Hotels in towns 2 hours away. When I asked about it, she said it was from work, covering expenses for a training seminar. She seemed annoyed I'd asked, defensive. That wasn't like her. Then there was the perfume. Barbara had worn the same scent for 30 years, this light floral thing I'd bought her on our 10th anniversary. But suddenly, there was a different bottle on her dresser. Something expensive, darker, richer. When I complimented it, she changed the subject. The gym membership she'd never mentioned. The new underwear I found in the laundry, still with tags on, that I'd never seen her wear. The way she'd started doing her hair different, makeup heavier when she left for work. Classic signs, right? Any fool could see it. My wife was having an affair. I didn't want to believe it. You don't want to believe it after 41 years. You tell yourself there's an explanation. You make excuses. Maybe she's treating herself, feeling good about herself, nothing wrong with that. Maybe the credit card is exactly what she said. Maybe I'm the problem, getting suspicious in my old age, turning into some paranoid retiree with too much time on his hands. But I couldn't let it go. I started paying attention, really paying attention. On Tuesday, when she said she had to work late for inventory, I drove by the hospital at 9 p.m. Her car wasn't there. I called her cell. She picked up, sounded normal, said she was just leaving. Long night, honey. I'll be home soon. But her car wasn't in the parking lot. On Thursday, she said she needed to visit her sister in Bakersfield for the weekend. Her sister Linda, who I'd always gotten along with fine. Barbara said Linda wasn't feeling well, needed some company. It made sense. Linda's husband had passed 2 years ago. She'd been lonely. Barbara went to see her once a month or so. But something made me call Linda. "Oh, hi, David." Linda sounded cheerful. "What's going on?" "Just checking in. How are you feeling?" There was a pause. "Feeling? I'm fine." "Why?" My stomach dropped. "Barbara said you weren't feeling well. She's driving up this weekend to stay with you." Another pause, longer this time. "David, I haven't talked to Barbara in 3 weeks. She's not coming here." I made some excuse, got off the phone, sat in my recliner, staring at nothing for an hour. Where was my wife going? I waited until Friday evening. Watched her pack her small suitcase, the one she used for overnight trips. She kissed me goodbye at 5:30 p.m., said she'd be back Sunday afternoon. Told me not to forget to take my blood pressure medication. Reminded me Emma was going to FaceTime with the kids Saturday morning. I waited 20 minutes. Then I got in my truck and followed her. It wasn't hard. She wasn't checking for tails, wasn't being careful. She took Highway 101 north, drove for 90 minutes, got off at an exit I didn't recognize, drove through a town I'd never been to, past strip malls and gas stations, into a neighborhood of small apartment complexes. She pulled into one of them, Building C, second floor, parked like she'd done it 1,000 times before. Used a key to let herself into Unit 214. I sat in my truck across the street, engine off, heart pounding. What was I going to see? Some younger man coming home from work? Was this where he lived? Was my wife of 41 years stepping out of her car, walking into her lover's apartment, about to spend the weekend in his bed while I sat home alone watching the History Channel? I waited. 10 minutes, 20, no one came out, no one went in. I couldn't take it anymore. I got out of the truck, crossed the parking lot, climbed the stairs to the second floor, stood outside Unit 214. I could hear voices inside, Barbara's voice, and another one. Lower, male. They were laughing about something. I knocked. The voices stopped. Footsteps. The door opened. But it wasn't some young stud standing there. It was a man about 35, 36 maybe. Tall, dark hair, going gray at the temples, my wife's eyes, wearing jeans and a Stanford sweatshirt, looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Behind him, I could see Barbara, frozen in the middle of the small living room, her face gone white. "Can I help you?" the man said. "Who are you?" My voice came out rough. He looked past me at Barbara. She made a small sound, almost a whimper. "Dad?" the man said. "You want to tell him, or should I?" "Dad." He called her Dad. "David." Barbara's voice was barely a whisper. "Please, come inside." I don't remember walking into that apartment. Don't remember the door closing behind me, or sitting down on the couch that looked like it came from Goodwill, or the man, this stranger who looked like my wife, offering me a glass of water that I didn't drink. I remember Barbara crying. I remember her saying, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I remember the man, whose name was Christopher, telling me he was 35 years old, telling me he'd grown up in Sacramento with his mother, telling me he'd only found out who his father was when his mother died 3 years ago and left him a letter, telling me that his mother's name was Patricia Monroe and that she'd worked at the same hospital as Barbara in 1988, telling me that Barbara had gotten pregnant by accident, but the father, some doctor they'd both worked with, was married with kids of his own and wanted nothing to do with it, told Patricia to get rid of it, offered to pay for the procedure, telling me that Barbara couldn't do it, couldn't have an abortion. So she and Patricia made a plan. I remember asking when. Asking exactly when this happened. "Summer of 1989, Christopher said quietly. August 15th. I counted back. We'd been married 2 years. Emma had just turned 1. Barbara had told me she was going to a nursing conference in San Francisco for a week. Came back talking about new techniques in pediatric care, how inspired she felt. She'd been pregnant. She'd given birth. She'd given her baby to her friend to raise, and she'd never told me. Why? It was all I could say. Why? Barbara was crying too hard to answer. Christopher did it for her. She was scared. 24 years old, new mother, you were working all those hours on that bridge project in Fresno, barely home. The pregnancy wasn't planned. She knew you wanted kids, but wanted to wait a few more years. She didn't know what to do, so she gave you away. Patricia wanted a baby. Couldn't have one of her own. They made an arrangement. Barbara paid Patricia $500 a month, every month, for 18 years. Helped her raise me. Visited when she could, always saying she was visiting a friend. Sent me birthday cards signed Aunt Barbara. Came to my high school graduation. My college graduation. I looked at my wife. At this woman I'd shared my life with for 4 decades. 41 years, I said. You've been lying to me for 41 years. Not lying, she whispered. Just not telling. That's the same goddamn thing, Barbara. I stood up. Had to move. Had to do something. The apartment was tiny, suffocating. Pictures on the wall. Christopher's college diploma. A photo of Barbara I recognized, from maybe 10 years ago, standing next to Christopher at what looked like a restaurant. She'd told me that day she was meeting Linda for lunch. More lies. The credit card, I said. The one hidden in your car. That's how you pay for this place. Barbara nodded. How long has he lived here? 3 years. Since he found out. Since Patricia died. And you've been coming here. Every week. Pretending to visit your sister. Pretending to work late. Pretending our whole goddamn marriage. I love you, David. Her voice broke. I've always loved you. This doesn't change that. Doesn't change it? I was shouting now. Couldn't help it. You have a son I didn't know about. You've been supporting him financially for his entire life. That's our money, Barbara. Money we could have saved for retirement, for Emma and Michael, for our grandkids. How much? How much have you spent? She didn't answer. How much? Including the apartment rent for the past 3 years. Maybe $400,000 total. The number hit me like a punch. $400,000. More than we'd spent on both our kids' college educations combined. More than we'd spent on our house. Does Emma know? Does Michael? No. So I'm the only one you lied to. I didn't know how to tell you. At first it was too soon. Then it was too late then. Years passed and I didn't know how to bring it up. How do you tell your husband you have another child? How do you explain that? By telling the truth. By being honest. That's what marriage is supposed to be, Barbara. We stood up in that church and made promises to each other. I know. We raised 2 kids together. I know. I held your hand when your mother died. You held mine when my dad had his stroke. We've been through everything together, or so I thought. Christopher cleared his throat. Mr. Patterson, I know this is a shock. It's been hard for me, too, finding all this out. I don't want to cause problems in your marriage. I never asked for any of this. I looked at him. Really looked at him. He had Barbara's eyes, her nose. But his chin was different. His build. Who's your father? I asked. Who's the doctor? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Some man got my wife pregnant and walked away, and I deserve to know who. Dr. Richard Stedman, Barbara said quietly. He died in 2015. Heart attack. I knew that name. I'd met him once or twice at hospital fundraisers Barbara had dragged me to. Silver-haired, charming, always had a story to tell. Dead at 68. Did he know? I asked Christopher. Did he know about you? No. My mom never told him she went through with the pregnancy. Far as he knew, she'd taken care of it. One more secret. One more lie in a whole web of lies. I walked to the door. Had to get out of there. Couldn't breathe. David, please. Barbara followed me. We need to talk about this. Talk about what? About how our entire marriage has been a lie? About how I have a stepson I never knew existed? About how you spent nearly $500,000 behind my back? I'll explain everything. Just please, don't leave like this. You don't get to tell me what to do? I opened the door. You lost that right about 35 years ago. I drove home. 3 hours in Friday night traffic, but I don't remember any of it. Could have driven off a cliff and wouldn't have noticed. When I got home, the house felt different. All our pictures on the wall, the family photos, our wedding picture on the mantel, lies, all of it. Or not lies, but incomplete truths. Half the story. I slept in the guest room. Didn't sleep, really. Just lay there staring at the ceiling until dawn. Barbara came home Sunday morning. I heard her car pull into the driveway, heard her key in the lock. She found me in the kitchen, drinking my 4th cup of coffee. David, don't. We need to talk. I don't want to hear it. Please. Just listen. She sat down anyway. Started talking. Told me the whole story. Everything I'd heard from Christopher, but with more details, more context. She'd been young, scared, overwhelmed. Dr. Stedman had been persuasive, manipulative. Patricia had wanted a baby so badly, it had seemed like the perfect solution at the time. And you never thought to tell me? I asked. In 41 years? You never once thought your husband deserved to know? Every day, she whispered. I thought about it every single day. But how do you say it? When? When you're pregnant with Emma and everything's going well? When Michael's born and we're struggling to make ends meet? When the kids are in school and we're finally stable? When they graduate, get married, have kids of their own? The first year, the first month, the first day? I know that now. But I was 24, David. I was scared and stupid and I made a terrible choice. And then I kept making that choice every day for 35 years. And the money? All that money? I worked extra shifts, picked up overtime. Every dollar I sent to Patricia came from my paychecks, not yours. We had joint accounts, Barbara. There's no yours and mine. It's all ours. It's always been ours. She didn't have an answer for that. Emma called that afternoon. FaceTime with the grandkids, like she'd promised. I put on a smile, talked to my granddaughter about her soccer game, my grandson about his new video game. Barbara sat next to me, playing along, both of us pretending everything was fine. When Emma asked how our weekend was, Barbara said it was nice and quiet. I said nothing. After we hung up, Barbara said, "We need to tell them." Tell them what? That they have a brother they never knew about? That their mother has been lying to everyone for their entire lives? Christopher is their brother. They have a right to know. You don't get to talk about rights, Barbara. You gave up that privilege when you decided to keep secrets for 4 decades. The next few weeks were hell. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, kept running the numbers in my head, $500 a month for 18 years, then the apartment rent, utilities, God knows what else, money we could have saved, money we could have used. But it wasn't really about the money. Not really. It was about the lying. The decades of deception. Every time she'd said she was visiting Linda, she'd been visiting her son. Every time she'd worked a late shift, she'd been making extra money to support a child I didn't know existed. Every time she'd suggested we skip a vacation to save money, she'd been squirreling cash away for Christopher. Our whole life together had been a performance, and I'd been the only one who didn't know it was a show. I talked to a lawyer. Not because I wanted a divorce, not yet, but because I needed to know where I stood. He told me that in California, even money earned separately during a marriage is community property, that Barbara's payments to Patricia, and now to Christopher, had technically been made with marital funds. That I could potentially sue to recover some of it. But do you want to? He asked. Because that would destroy whatever's left of your marriage. I didn't know what I wanted. Christopher called me, asked if we could meet, just the two of us. I almost said no. But something made me say yes. We met at a diner halfway between our houses. He was already there when I arrived, sitting in a booth by the window, nursing a coffee. "Thanks for coming," he said when I sat down. "Why am I here? Because I need you to understand I never wanted this. Never wanted to hurt you or your family. When my mom died and I found out the truth, I was angry too. Felt like my whole life had been a lie. Joined the club. I confronted Barbara, demanded answers. She told me everything. About you, about Emma and Michael, about how she'd made this impossible choice when she was young and had been living with it ever since. She could have told me. She should have told you. You're right. But she didn't, and now we're here." He paused. "I don't want your money, Mr. Patterson. I never asked for the apartment, never asked for support," Barbara insisted. Said she owed it to me, owed it to my mom's memory. "So, what do you want?" "I want to know my siblings. I want to meet Emma and Michael. I want to be part of the family, if they'll have me. But I understand if that's too much to ask." "It is. I know." He pulled out his wallet, showed me a picture. A young woman with a baby. "That's my wife, Rachel, our daughter, Sophia. She's 6 months old. Barbara's granddaughter. Your granddaughter, technically." I looked at the picture. The baby had Christopher's eyes, Barbara's eyes. "I'm not trying to manipulate you," he said. "Just wanted you to know. You have another grandchild. Whether you want to acknowledge that or not is up to you. After he left, I sat in that diner for another hour, thinking about family, about blood, about choices and consequences. I went home. Barbara was in the living room, pretending to read a book. "We need to tell the kids," I said. She looked up, surprised. "You want to? They deserve to know. If we're going to figure this out, if there's any chance of moving forward, we can't keep lying to more people." We told Emma first. Video call, because she's in Denver. Watched her face go through the same emotions I'd felt. Shock, disbelief, anger, confusion. "I have a brother?" she kept saying. "I have a brother and you never told me?" We told Michael next. He was quieter about it, always the reserved one, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. "Did you ever think about telling us?" he asked. "Every day," Barbara said. "And every day I was too scared." "That's not good enough, Mom." "I know. We're 3 months past that night now. 3 months of therapy, both individual and couples. 3 months of hard conversations and harder silences. 3 months of trying to figure out if a marriage can survive this kind of betrayal. Emma has met Christopher. She was angry at first, resentful, but she's coming around. She says everyone deserves to know their family. Michael's still thinking about it. I've met Sophia, my newest granddaughter. She's beautiful. Looks just like Emma did at that age. Barbara asks me every week if I've forgiven her. I tell her I'm working on it. That's the truth. Some days I think I can move past this, that 41 years of good times outweigh one massive lie. Other days I look at her and see a stranger. The lawyer says I still have time to file for divorce if I want to. The statute of limitations on fraud is 3 years in California, and this definitely qualifies. But I don't know if that's what I want. Christopher invited us to Sophia's first birthday party next month. Emma's flying in for it. Michael sent a card, said he might come. Barbara wants us all to go together, as a family, show Christopher and Rachel that we're trying to move forward. I haven't decided yet. 41 years is a long time to be married to someone. Long enough to build a whole life together. Raise kids, buy a house, plan for retirement. Long enough that you think you know everything about them. But people have secrets. People make choices they regret. Choices they're too scared to unmake. And sometimes those choices ripple out for decades, affecting people who never knew they were part of the story. I don't know if I can forgive Barbara for this. Don't know if our marriage survives. But I do know this. Christopher didn't ask to be born. Didn't ask to be a secret. And Sophia, that beautiful little girl who looks at me with my wife's eyes, she deserves to know her grandfather. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's where we start. Or maybe it's where everything ends, and we all just move forward separately, carrying our secrets and our regrets and our too-late truths. I guess I'll find out. One choice at a time. One day at a time. That's all any of us can do.